The Deputy President of the EFF, Floyd Shivambu, says the party's MPs who were thrown out of the National Assembly have laid charges against the Speaker of the National Assembly and the Parliamentary Security Services. This comes after Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula, who's the Speaker, ordered the security staff to remove the MPs for disrupting proceedings. Now, during the chaos between the security staff and members of the party who were refusing to leave the National Assembly, the EFF vowed to disrupt proceedings even before this in protest over corruption and money laundering allegations made against the President of the Republic of South Africa following a 2020 robbery at his Phala farm.
We have opened a case against you as a Speaker and the security rascals of Parliament who have assaulted our members who are currently in hospital. You are going to be held accountable for calling violence on members of Parliament. We're going to take action against you. In the same way, we were charged in Parliament for touching a white person. Now we're acquitted. You are going to be held accountable for instructing rascals to assault members of Parliament in a way that is unconstitutional. So that you must take note of.
Well, the National Assembly Speaker, Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula, has instituted an investigation into allegations of sexual assault made by EFF MPs. During today's proceedings, EFF MP Naledi Chirwa accused the Speaker of allowing male security personnel to sexually assault women. This allegedly occurred on Thursday when EFF MPs were thrown out of the National Assembly for disrupting proceedings. However, Mapisa-Nqakula, who has strongly refuted the allegations, says video footage of the incident will be reviewed.
Honorable Chirwa, who actually was really throwing it at the Speaker that the Speaker is committing gender-based violence. I would like to say that, one, we were not aware of what is happening if it did happen, and therefore what we will do now is to conduct an investigation post this debate. Conduct an investigation. Fortunately, there are videos everywhere, even outside there are cameras, so we'll be able to get the exact information about what happened as people were being taken out.
For a discussion on this, we're joined by political analyst Rebone Tau, especially as it relates to the past 10 days of June when the charges or a charge was laid against President Cyril Ramaphosa at the Rosebank police station by Arthur Fraser, and today him answering a myriad of questions, or the lack of the answers rather, during a media engagement and in Parliament, continually saying that due process has to take its course. Rebone Tau is a political analyst and she joins us now to weigh in or give us her perspective on the matter. Thank you very much for availing yourself this afternoon. So just before we went on air, the floor manager and the team members, we were taking a look at just how far this informal settlement, safer Gale informal settlement, is in relation to the Phala farm. And according to Google Maps, it's about an hour, couple of minutes away from it. So when we talk about this conversation of South Africa continuously being an unequal society where you have the haves and the have-nots living comfortably or uncomfortably next to each other, just how sustainable is this when we see something of this kind allegedly happening to the CEO of the Republic?
Good afternoon, to the listeners at home. I think what we must all agree that there's inequality in South Africa in terms of those who are rich and those who are poor. But the reality of the matter is that we knew before President Ramaphosa was elected at the ANC conference in 2017. We can even go back in 2012, when he was elected as the deputy president of the ANC, that he's a businessman. And being a businessman does not mean that he is sympathetic to the struggle of workers or the working class or the poor. We can go back to in 2012, in August, the Marikana incident, where workers in Marikana wanted better conditions, wanted a better wage, when he was within Lonmin, the mining company in the Rustenburg area. So what is happening now is nothing new. When he was the deputy president, building up to 2012, he had shares in Lonmin, and there was Marikana incident that happened under his watch.
The president actually dealt with the question that was put to him about the socioeconomic condition of many people in South Africa, and he said there are those who say that, you know, nothing has changed since 1994, but he tends to disagree, speaking of a deep commitment and intention in abundance being there. It's just a lack of resources that is the problem here. Is this a fair representation of the truth?
You can speak about the lack of resources, but also it says something about you as a leader. And that's why I make reference to Marikana in 2012. Because at the time he was within Lonmin, and workers were saying that they wanted a raise, and we know that workers were killed in Marikana. This year we celebrate the 20th anniversary of those workers who were killed in Marikana. Let's go back to now May Day this year. The Sibanyoni workers who were also on strike, who were saying that they want a raise. The president could not address the May Day rally because of the challenges that face workers on a day-to-day struggle. So there's something that you can speak, but it's your actions that speaks more for what you say to the society.
What questions should be answered and what questions should be left to due process? This issue has deeply divided opinion in the country, with some saying, take us into your confidence, tell us something, and those who are saying, well, let the law take its course. I do wonder what your position is on that, or is it a little bit more nuanced for you?
I think for me, especially on the most recent incident by Arthur Fraser, this is an incident that happened in 2020, right? We're in 2022. We learned through Arthur Fraser about the incident. And the question is that if this matter was really something that the president was going to report to the police, why is it by 2022 no arrests have been made, there's no trial in court of the matter, or no one has been convicted? That is worrying, that 2 years later we have to learn through Arthur Fraser on the matter at hand. And the president has not denied about the incident. You know, he says that yes, he was at the AU summit when this incident took place, but he doesn't say that the incident did not take place.
What do you make of the EFF's stance in terms of they had made it known that there will be disruptions, but they're the only political party that did not want to be addressed by the president? Other political parties have a thing or two to say about the entire situation. But when it comes to the proceedings that we saw in the past 2 days, the positions that were adopted by various political parties, including the EFF, what to make of that?
Nothing new from the EFF. We can go back to the era of the former President Jacob Zuma when they were saying pay back the money. So it's nothing new what happened. Even during the 10, it was the EFF that was very vocal, making noise in Parliament. It was members of the EFF that were taken out of the sitting in Parliament. So there's nothing new. It's just a repeat of what we saw under the former President Jacob Zuma.
Fair enough, but I guess the question more pointedly is their impact or legacy. Like you say, they've been consistent on such matters, especially in the National Assembly. How will they be remembered in history, being the only political party that actually does what they do? There's a saying that history will absolve your judgment. I'm not able to judge the EFF or absolve them, but history will judge or absolve them based on what they do in Parliament. I'm not in a position to judge them, but history will judge them. But they can go down, in history as being that only political party that was very vocal in Parliament. Because you must remember that before the EFF came into Parliament, you had the DA, which was always speaking about the Nkandla matter. But when the EFF came into Parliament, then the modus operandi started changing. So history will absolve or judge the EFF. Fair enough. Thank you very much for your insights.